when Shoghi Effendi said at the dinner table in 1956 that God's plan is the more important plan, our plans, that is the Baha'i plans, are referred to as the minor plan.
Mm-hmm.
God's plan is the major plan. The minor plan, Shoghi Effendi said, that the Baha'is have, in those days it was the 10-year plan we were involved in. He said that works in a very orderly fashion, clear-cut goals. Baha'is organized to pursue the goals, hopefully to be successful in achieving the goals. But they have to remember that God's plan, which is the major plan, as termed by Shoghi Effendi, is the more important in the sense that God's plan works to create the conditions under which our minor plan, our Baha'i plan, is advanced. And if God's plan works by chaotic disruption, the breaking down of institutions that are no longer adequate to meet the needs of humanity. And so God works in these mysterious ways, as God is known to do. To our view, it might appear chaotic and disruptive and difficult, because of course we are in this world and suffering all the ills of the world. Mm-hmm. But the Baha'i plan, if we pursue it in the fashion in which it must be pursued, the successes that we will have will be to be ready for and adequate for the needs of humanity as it survives God's disruptive major plan, which is helping the minor plan, ours, in our slow development, slow development. And it takes a long time. It doesn't happen overnight, but God's plan will eventually prepare us to survive through it and come out at the other end as a form of development that could not be achieved in any other way, because the Baha'is are not working to disrupt the world. The Baha'is are working to rebuild in the process of the disruption we see all around us, the inadequacies of the institutions of our world society. Their inadequacies are their destruction, their self-destruction. Baha'is should be only building.
And we, through the Guardian's eyes, see past the chaos that the world is threatened by, they're frightened by and shaken, and but we can have steady vision. And I'm reminded of 1948, when the Holy Land was on the brink of a terrible war. And the holy places were very exposed, being just a short distance from the prize that everybody wanted, the port of Haifa. Amazing how God arranged for the World Center to be in such a key place. And at that moment, with that darkness and violence and explosiveness, Shoghi Effendi wrote a letter to the Baha'is and said, basically, today's a good day to erect the arcade or the put some marble on Carmel and build the shrine of the Bab in the middle of this. And it's really unthinkable. And yet, of course, facts bore it out, but his seizing of the divine guidance, he saw past all that chaos.
Yeah.
He was never shaken by the terrible events of the war. He kept our focus right there.
That's the way we must be. I loved Shoghi Effendi for these qualities of leadership. This is a gift to the world, and they will recognize it in time. But we who are so fortunate to be Baha'is in this time, during this very time, which is a mystery to those who don't have either the sense of purpose or the guidance that we Baha'is are so fortunate to have. They're bewildered by what they see happening around them. And of course, from bewilderment to paralysis is not going to be helpful to them, but we can offer the Baha'i view of history and of current events and invite people to build with us, which offers a positive attitude toward life and a direction for our energies and a reason to be alive and to feel grateful for being alive in this day.
Yeah, yeah.
But Baha'is could be grateful to live through the pandemic, economic upheaval, racial injustices. Who would say they wanted to live in this day except Baha'is?
Yeah, to offer the light of the faith. I remember reading an article in World Order magazine that Aheng Rabbani wrote, and the master was in Paris, and I'm paraphrasing, but I think it was a newspaper reporter who said something like, well, it must be good for you to be out here in the West in freedom, where your faith will grow more rapidly than in Persia. And the master said something like, this is a cause that grows more rapidly when it is repressed. And so as you're talking about the chaos and the worries and the pandemic and so on, the economic stresses that are surely in the near future, my point is that these divine institutions will become not only more public, but their powers will emerge precisely because of these pressures, because of this chaos and difficulty. The powers of the local assemblies will emerge because under test, that's when the light shines brightest. So my own personal feeling is that all of this building up that Shoghi Effendi did of the administration of the faith was really, and the house is preparing us to play a powerful role of stability and guidance and shepherding during days of chaos when everybody else is falling apart. Our powers shine. So I think I'm saying the same thing you are.
That's good.
You know, another thought that Khanum points out in The Priceless Pearl is that when everybody was taking sides during the war, the Second World War in the Holy Land, Shoghi Effendi was not. And he remained absolutely neutral, and that he was respected for it. And often Baha'is get pulled into taking a side because they're talking to someone who has taken a side and who identifies side taking as being the highest form of principled action. And for us, that neutrality is key, and trusting that all of these warring forces and so on are at the surface, and we're down at the calmer level. And as she said, he shepherded the Baha'i community through the shoals and dangers of that time. And that my point is that it's crucial, our neutrality. And I am concerned because I see Baha'is, many Baha'is, joining right in the partisan debates, and losing the perspective of not getting wrapped up in thinking that these outward events are the important events. These outward events are stirring things up and showing the weaknesses in the world system. And we have to be, in contrast to the corruption in the, as the Guardian said, is an advent of divine justice, in contrast to the corruption in society, our institutions must be the embodiments of justice, and that the people will see the difference.
Yes.
So anyway,
what you are observing, Brent, is absolutely key and extremely challenging for Baha'is.
Mm-hmm. What was the last word?
Extremely challenging for Baha'is today.
Yes.
Today's challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Difficult for Baha'is who gravitate toward those efforts on the part of others who are not Baha'is to bring about what we think of and understand as working toward similar goals that
Mm-hmm.
Baha'is are working toward. However, the means by which we work toward our goals are different.
Mm-hmm.
Means toward the goals, the ends that others are using today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This difference between the means that Baha'is are to use and the means used by many well-meaning, devoted people who are not Baha'is, that is an area where Baha'is need to think clearly, recognize, and have patience, as Shoghi Effendi reminded me. If we don't, we will be caught up in the maelstrom of the destruction of the institutions that are inadequate to meet the needs of society today. We Baha'is, in order to understand our social principles, cannot be advanced with the means used by all other groups who are anxious to get to the ends, their goals, and may compromise on the way to their desired ends, their goals. The Baha'is cannot compromise. The Baha'is must use the means offered to us in the writings. This is an important area for discussion. And
and what you're bringing out here is that we don't see the connection between, the mysterious processes of not only the administration, but the laws that affect us personally, and our role in the establishment of world order. I want to share the screen. It's a passage from Baha'u'llah's tablet to Abul Fazl, where he's talking about questions from Manikji Sahib. And can you see this page?
Yes, I can.
So
Unity, yes.
The questioner has talked about here the difference between different laws and prohibitions in the different religious dispensations. And he, for about the fourth time, quotes this famous passage: "The all-knowing physician hath his finger on the pulse of mankind, was and remaineth the answer to his question. He further saith, be anxiously concerned with the needs of the age ye live in, and center your deliberations on its exigencies and requirements." My observation is that often when the friends read that passage, be anxiously concerned with the needs of the age you live in, they understand this to mean, look at these outer problems that are going on and try to figure out how to fix them. And that takes them off of what the focus of the faith is. And my point is that Baha'u'llah here interprets this passage. Let me read now the next sentence. He further saith, be anxiously concerned with the needs of the age you live in, and center your deliberations on its exigencies and requirements. That is, fix your gaze upon the commandments of God. For whatsoever he should ordain in this day and pronounce as lawful, it is indeed lawful and representeth the very truth. It is incumbent upon all to turn their gaze towards the cause of God and to observe that which is dawned above the horizon of his will. So that my understanding of this passage is not that we have to dream something up to remedy those things to be concerned about, but that the all-knowing physician has already given it to us.
Yes.
With his institutions, with his laws, with the attitudes we develop, with our prayers, everything he's given us, this is the remedy. This is how, this leaven cast out into society elevates it. And so this independence that you observed in the Holy Land, where Shoghi Effendi was about his business, building gardens, this was for world order. It was the essence of what to do. And so my point again is using his neutrality and his focus on Abdu'l-Baha's divine plan and the other two charters was and is our response to establish justice in the world.
Absolutely right. Here.
And that's what you've been doing for how many years as a Baha'i now?
Well, technically, I was enrolled as a Baha'i at the age of 17, which was in 1950. March 25th, to be exact, 1950, by the local Spiritual Assembly of Los Angeles.
"70 years, my word."
Anyway, it's a long time, isn't it?
I'm
not through yet.
Yeah, well. Mm-hmm.
It's such a pleasure, to have conversations like this, Brent. I appreciate that you've taken the time yourself, to pursue these engaging with those of us who've been Baha'is for a number of years and to see, what is our limited understanding of the faith. And in spite of these limitations, we're still hanging in there. And of course, we hope that those young ones who are entering the faith now and will continue to be responsible for its development and growth in the years to come will take some courage from the history of those of us who started on this journey a few years ago, and that you will indeed improve on what you observe and be steadfast in your work, because the opportunities that will be offered to those who come after you will depend to a large extent on what has been accomplished by you. So each level of generations of Baha'is has a responsibility in building the world order. Our most important work in life.
Well, your soul was touched by the sign of God directly.
Yes.
I
there's
think
Rob.
we have, hi Rob, we have to end now, Sheila, because someone else has the floor. Love you, delighted to see you.
Thank you, Brent. It's been wonderful.
Allah Abha.